If you're a fan of the Jungle Book, you'll want to read about Dina Sanecker, the real-life Mowgli. Sanecker was born in the jungles of India and has spent his entire life living among animals. Dina was Rudyard Kipling's inspiration for the uplifting tale. But many people don't realize Dina's tragic story. In this video, I will take a closer look at the life of Dina Sanecker and learn more about his incredible story. The Wolf Boy is found. Dina Sanecker's story began in the 1800s when he was just a young boy. In 1867, a group of hunters tracked a wolf in the jungles of Uttar Pradesh, India. The wolf led the hunters to a small cave, where they found a naked boy huddled in the corner. Upon trying to communicate with the boy, they realized that he could not answer them, nor did he seem to understand their questions. With each passing moment, it became more evident that the wolf boy was a feral child. It was apparent that the wolves raised the boy, and despite the odd nature of his upbringing, he was not the first feral child. Back then, feral children were typical in India, including panther children, chicken children, dog children, and even gazelle children. A common trait with feral children was their inability to walk on two legs. Almost always, they walked on all fours and struggled to walk correctly. The hunters who found Dina took him back to their village, where they showed him off to the locals. The villagers were both fascinated and terrified by the boy raised by wolves. Next, the hunters took Dina to the Sikandra Mission Orphanage in Agra. They gave him the name Sanecker, which means Saturday in Urdu, because that was the day he was found. Dina Sanecker's early years. Although Dina was given a name and a roof over his head, the orphanage was not the best place for him. The staff at the orphanage did their best to care for Dina, but they didn't know how to communicate with him properly. They also didn't know how to care for his physical needs. The staff at the orphanage did their best to civilize Dina, but it was a difficult task. His upbringing in the jungle was the only source of civilization that made sense to him. He would often howl and bark like a wolf, leading the staff to believe he was trying to communicate with them. A psychologist named Wayne Dennis noted that feral children like Dina had little to no attachment to human beings and were unaffected by hot and cold temperatures. Dina wore clothing, but he only ate meat and sharpened his teeth on bones like a wolf. At the same time, Dina seemed unable to speak a language, but his caretakers were hopeful that they could rehabilitate him. Dina Sanecker's later years. As Dina grew older, he began to show more human-like behaviors. He learned how to use the restroom, ate normally dressed, walked upright, and even started wearing shoes. However, the wolf boy continued to howl and bark, which led people to believe he was trying to communicate with them. Dina would never learn to speak the human language, yet he developed a sense of understanding and could share in his way with the caretakers of the orphanage. While the caretakers had limited success bonding with Dina, the wolf boy did form a bond with another feral child. The two children had much in common, and they quickly became friends. They would often play together, and Dina would teach the other boy to hold a cup and drink out of it. It was clear that Dina was more comfortable around other feral children than he was around humans. That never seemed to change even as Dina grew older.